Raise your right hand. Thank you. You solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the cause and often before this court shall be the truth, and the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Will you please take a seat in the witness stand? We're going to adjust the microphone there and state and spell your name.
Kirk Anderson, KIRKANDERSON.
Who do you work for?
I work for Los Angeles Police Department.
On November 8th, 2021, did you interview a man by the name of Terrell Efron?
Yes, I did.
And how is it that you came to interview him that day?
He walked into the lobby of the police station.
What was it that Mr. Efron was there to report?
He said he was a victim of a shooting and that he was shot by this unknown celebrity by the name of ASAP Rocky.
Him and Mr. Mayers?
Efron said that he heard that ASAP Rocky was talking bad about him over the cell phone, and that was the day prior to the shooting.
What did Mr. Efron tell you that he did after he heard Mr. Mayers talking bad about him?
He sent a text message to a friend that he said ASAP Rocky was being fake.
Occurred when he first got to that parking garage.
So when he got there, he saw ASAP Rocky, and he saw two mutual friends of his and ASAP Rocky. One he said his name was ASAP Ills, and the other one I believe goes by the name of twelvy.
Did he tell you that those two men, Ills and twelvy, were with Mr. Mayers?
Yes.
Okay, and then what was the next thing that he told you happened?
He said from about 5 to 10 feet away, ASAP Rocky pulled out a black handgun from his waistband and told him, "What's up now, pussy?"
Okay. What did he tell you happened immediately after that?
He then pointed the handgun at Efron and said, "I will kill you right now," approximately 2 to 3 times.
And then what did he tell you happened after that?
ASAP Ills and twelvy tried to intervene and de-escalate the situation, and they all walked over together to the area of Selma and Vista Del Mar.
Did he tell you who, if anyone, was the first person to walk away?
They were in front of him when they were walking to that location.
When you say they, who are you talking about?
ASAP Rocky, ASAP Ills, and twelvy.
All right. And what did Mr. Efron tell you he did after that first altercation at the parking garage?
Once they got to the area of Selma and Vista Del Mar, he said ASAP Rocky turned around and fired approximately 3 to 4 shots at Efron.
Okay. Before we get there, I want to go back to the parking garage really quickly. Did Mr. Efron tell you at any point that the defendant specifically pointed the handgun at him?
Yes.
He told you, or yes, that he did? What did he tell you with regard to that?
After he said, "What's up, pussy," he pointed the handgun, and he stated, "I will kill you right now," at Efron.
Okay. That was when you, okay, thank you. Where again did he tell you that the rounds were fired?
At the area of Selma and Vista Del Mar.
And how many shots did he tell you he believed were fired?
Approximately 3 to 4. Yes, he said he was struck in his left hand knuckles area.
When he walked into the police station, you had a chance to observe him, obviously, correct?
Yes.
Could you see any injury to his left hand knuckle area?
I did see an injury to his hand knuckles.
Okay. You recognize what you see there?
Yes.
And does that appear consistent with the injuries that you saw to Mr. Efron
It
on
does.
November 8th?
He said he ran off one direction and ASAP Rocky and others ran off another direction. After he got to the hotel, he said approximately an hour later he came back to the scene of Selma and Vista Del Mar, and he said he collected 2 casings off the ground.
Documenting where he observed those 2 cartridge casings?
Yeah, he provided a photo of the casings on the street.
Did he actually show you a photo?
Yes.
Okay. You said Mr. Efron told you this happened on November 6th, but he was reporting it to you on November 8th, correct?
Yes.
Did you ask him specifically why he waited to the 2 days to report this to you?
He said he wanted to have a lawyer with him.
At the time he walked into the police station on November 8th, he had 2 fired cartridge cases with him, correct?
Yes, he did.
Can you describe that in more detail for the jury?
It was 2 steel casings. It said 9mm Luger on each of them.
How did he have it?
It was in a black plastic bag.
Okay. Cartridge casings that Mr. Efron brought to you that you packaged up and booked into property division, correct?
Correct.
In fact, the first page of your investigative report has a pre-printed box, which is called weapon, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that's where you identify any weapon that a complainant reports to you, correct?
Correct.
Right. And you made a note in that report of a gun, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if a knife were involved in an incident, that's an important fact you would know, right?
Yes.
Right. And you didn't make any note of a knife in this case, either in that pre-printed box or in the narrative portion of your report, correct?
Correct.
And that's obviously because Mr. Efron, when reporting to you what happened, didn't tell you that twelvy displayed a knife to him during the incident, right?
He did not.
Right. In fact, Mr. Efron made no mention of a knife being involved in this incident, correct?
Correct.
To the contrary, rather than displaying a knife, Mr. Efron told you that twelvy actually attempted to de-escalate the situation. Is that right?
Yes.
And he told you that ASAP Ills also tried to de-escalate the situation, correct?
Yes.
Now, after you received the shell casings from Mr. Efron, you requested that they be examined for latent prints.
I did.
And obviously, as an experienced law enforcement officer, you wouldn't have requested an examination that you knew would be useless. Am I correct?
Correct.
Right. So you requested that examination for latent prints because you understood that fingerprints can be lifted off shell casings, right?
Yes.
Right. Now, when speaking with Mr. Efron on November 8th, 2021, he told you that he had a small scrape on his left hand from the incident, right?
Yes.
In fact, you saw a picture of it on the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. And after him telling you about that small scrape and you seeing it, you clearly didn't see a need to get him an ambulance or some type of medical treatment, right?
Right.
In fact, at that time, on November 8, 2021, you discussed with Mr. Efron if any medical treatment, what if any medical treatment he already received for that small scrape? You asked him about that, right?
Yes.
And what he told you was, I just treated it myself on the day of occurrence, right?
Correct.
Now, you were asked by Mr. Presnick about the reported statements that Mr. Efron made to you, right?
Yes.
Okay. And to be clear, when Mr. Efron made all of his statements to you, he had a civil lawyer standing next to him, right?
Yes.
Now, you said you asked Mr. Efron why he waited 2 days to report the incident, and he told you it's because he wanted to have a lawyer present for him, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did Mr. Efron tell you that another reason he waited to report the incident is because he was attempting to contact Mr. Mayor's quote-unquote people, including his manager, Mr. Mayor's manager, trying to get money before he even contacted a lawyer? Did he tell you that?
No.
In fact, Mr. Efron never told you that before coming to see you, meaning before he made his report to the police, that he had already texted a screenshot of the scraped fingers to Mr. Mayor's manager with messages saying that he, Mr. Efron, was getting rich. He never told you that, right?
No.
Assumes facts and evidence.
I'm asking you what was told you. And the answer was he never conveyed that to you, right?
Correct.
Right. In fact, Mr. Efron also did not tell you that before coming to the police, he had already sent a text message to his own business associate saying, quote, I want to get this N-word's money, referring to Mr. Mayos. He never told you that either, right?
Right.
And Mr. Efron also did not tell you that before making his report to the police, before he came to you, Mr. Mayos texted him that Mr. Efron was trying to extort him, that Mr. Efron should stop calling Mr. Mayor's manager, and that Mr. Efron should call the police. He never told you any of that, did he?
He did not.
Thank you very much. I don't have anything further.
Thank you.
Mr. Sullivan?
How long did you estimate your interview of Mr. Efron was?
Approximately maybe 20 minutes.
And included in that 20 minutes, some of that time have been you actually writing down or documenting things on your report?
Yes.
Is your report a verbatim transcript of what Mr. Efron told you or a summary?
A summary.
The gun that Mr. Efron reported was pointed at him. Did he tell you what kind of gun it was? Meaning, was it a revolver or semi-automatic?
He just said black handgun.
Okay. Did you document something in your report that it was a specific type of gun?
I have to review the report.
What did he tell you?
It was a semi-automatic.
Okay. You were asked about latent fingerprints. How many times are you aware of latent fingerprints being lifted off of cartridge cases?
I want to know the answer. How many times?
Have you ever received a latent print report documenting fingerprints on fired cartridge cases yourself personally?
No.
Okay. I have nothing else, sir.
Siegel? No, Your Honor. All right, thank you, Officer Anderson.
Thank you.
Next one.
Shall we state that the testimony you may give in the cause not been before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Please take a seat on the witness stand there. Again, please state. This guy you name for.
Yes. First name is Frank, F-R-A-N-K. Last name is Flores, F-L-O-R-E-S.
Sir, would you tell the jury what your occupation and assignment are?
Yes, I'm a detective with Los Angeles Police Department. I'm assigned to our robbery homicide division.
You were assigned to this case. Did you go to the location where the crime occurred, and specifically to Vista Del Mar and Selma Avenue in the city and county of Los Angeles?
Yes. Primary focus was to canvass the area for cameras, witnesses, any evidence related to the incident that was recorded.
The entire amount of video that you collected from there, was it 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 6 seconds long?
Yes.
And was there a specific time that you started that specific time from when the video started that you collected?
I believe we're looking at roughly around the time of the incident,
Would it have been around 10 o'clock?
roughly 10 o'clock.
Okay. He told you that he went back to collect it, correct?
Correct.
When he told you he went back to collect it, when did he tell you he went back?
He said roughly within an hour.
Did Mr. Efron tell you that when he returned to the scene to collect those cartridge casings that he was also with his girlfriend, or essentially with another person?
Yes, another person had gone along with him.
In the portion of the video that you just watched, did you see another person with that individual in the light top?
No.
Is the person in that portion of the video wearing clothing which was consistent with the clothing that Mr. Efron was wearing at the time of the shooting?
No.
As you sit here right now, do you still believe that the person depicted in that video is Mr. Efron?
Objection, Your Honor.
Well,
Speculation. It calls for speculation.
when you collected that video, did you initially believe that that was Mr. Efron?
Yes, we did.
Do you still believe that today?
Objection, Your Honor. His opinion as to whether it is or isn't Mr. Efron is
No speaking objections.
Sorry, thought I was giving you a reason.
Can I give an offer of proof, Your Honor?
Ask the question again.
Yes. You said when you collected the video, you thought that was Mr. Efron. The question is, as you sit here now, having more information, do you still believe that?
I don't.
Judge, what would an objection?
Sustained. We can you say to make an offer. Objection sustained. Ask.
And the answer be stricken, please.
I did. Yes, the answer is strict.
That was my girl I was with. You recall that?
Yes, I do.
At the moment that Mr. Efron said that, what was displaying on the video that he was looking at, or was he even looking at video at that exact moment?
I believe this is a secondary clip of the time period which we thought he had returned to pick up the casings, which was, I believe, 23:10 hours
But you
on the
were-
day of the 6th.
Okay, you were there when he made those statements.
Correct. Yes.
Did you receive that as him pointing out that that's my girl on the clip, or did you receive that as him asking you the question, do you see her on there?
I took it as you see.
Not that he was specifically pointing something out.
Correct.
Okay. On the left-hand side photograph. All right, detective, do you recognize what you see here?
Yes, I do.
Can you describe it for the viewers?
Again, the first photograph is from the still from the parking entrance on Argyle, where the incident began. The second one is from the loading dock off of Central. Just looking at the similarities from my point of view, where obviously the specific design on the sweater, specifically the chest area between the first camera on Argyle and the second camera off the Central. And specifically between both photographs, I can see that it's the same individual based on the hat, the clothing, a lot of similarities that would give me my opinion would be that it's the same individual.
The search of his residence, were you alerted to multiple firearm-related items that were found in his house?
Yes, including things we were looking for and other things that we weren't, anything substantial that they wanted me to look at. I went there and looked at. It wasn't necessarily everything that we seized.
But would it have been everything firearm-related?
Yes.
And if you can narrow it down to one room in the house, what room was the firearm-related evidence observed in?
It was what I would kind of describe as the master bedroom of the house belonging to Mr. Myers.
Okay. The actual guns in his house?
Yes.
How many?
3.
And if you can describe for the jury, can you distinguish between the 3 of them or describe them each in a unique way?
Yes. One I would describe as a rifle, another as a shotgun, another as a handgun. An angle of the master bedroom facing the bed.
Okay. Would you agree with this be the same room that you've been talking about where the firearms were specifically located?
Correct.
All right, we go to 39B. Do you recognize what you see here?
Yes, that's a side table adjacent to the bed.
Okay. There's an item with a red rectangle around it, just above that side table. Can you make out that item?
Yes.
What is that?
It's a handgun.
And would that be the handgun that you were describing earlier?
Yeah, I describe it as a kind of large caliber handgun.
All right. Before we move on, there's another set of boxes or items at the lower left-hand corner with another red rectangle around them. What's that?
Correct. I believe that was the case where the rifle and shotgun were contained.
Okay.
Carrying case.
Let's start with the handgun. That item, would you agree, was directly behind, essentially like the headboard of the bed?
Yes, kind of behind the bed.
All right. I'll show you 39C. Do you recognize what you see there?
Yes.
What is that?
That's the handgun. Again, I would describe it as a large caliber handgun.
Just a close-up of the same gun we just pointed out.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know what caliber handgun that was?
I believe it's a 44 caliber handgun.
Are you positive that it was not a 9mm handgun?
Yes.
Did you inspect the gun?
I saw it where it was, and as the detectives that found it were located, it came to me. I don't recall picking it up and handling it myself.
Did you inspect it enough to determine whether or not it was a real gun?
Yes.
Was it a real gun?
Yes.
Do you know whether or not it was loaded?
I do not know.
Is that a revolver or a semi-automatic?
That's a semi-automatic.
And is there a magazine for that handgun?
Yes.
Is it loaded? Is it shoved up inside of the grip?
From this angle, it looks like there is a magazine seated in the weapon.
Okay. You recognize what you see there?
Yes.
just a better angle of those same outside boxes, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Go to 39E. What do you see there?
Yes, that's where you see the one case that's been opened. You can see inside, I believe that is the rifle.
And when you see that item, it's closer to the bottom of the page because there's two boxes here, correct?
Correct, there's two boxes. So I'm looking at the lower box here, specifically, it's kind of cracked open and you can see the inside. I can see the bottom end of what I believe is the rifle.
And did you inspect that gun close enough to know if it was a real gun or a fake gun?
Correct, yes.
And what was it?
It's a real gun.
And does that gun fire 9mm ammunition?
It does not.
Okay. And then lastly, 39F. Do you recognize what you see there?
Yes, here on the right. So both cases are now open. The case on the right specifically, I can see the outline of the shotgun, also in addition to the shotgun shells in the carrier, the stock.
Let's see if I can get the glare off there. It's kind of hard to see. That was getting better. The shotgun you described as being on the right-hand side, correct?
Correct. Shotgun's here on the right, the rifle's on the left, and that's two separate cases.
Got it. Okay. And with the shotgun specifically, did you inspect it close enough to tell if it was a real gun or a fake gun?
Yes,
And what was
it's
it?
a real gun.
Okay. Will that gun shoot 9mm ammunition, the shotgun?
No.
Is there any other firearm-related evidence that you were alerted to in his home?
Yes.
What was that?
A magazine, a 9mm magazine for a Glock 23, collected from a box in the master bedroom closet. Yes.
And what is that?
That's a box containing ammunition, magazines for a rifle, and specifically in
magazines for.
or a rifle.
Thank you.
Sorry. And in the center here, there's the magazine that was recovered containing live ammunition, specifically 9mm ammunition. The boxes underneath are ammunition, I believe, that was consistent with the rifle that was in one of the cases.
Were any of those boxes consistent with 9mm ammunition?
No. That's the magazine that was recovered. I'm showing that photograph on the screen.
In the master bedroom closet?
Correct.
Okay. Can you describe what that object is, or tell us the features of it? What's the brand of that object?
It's a Glock brand magazine, which has a capacity of 6 rounds that can be loaded. And a semi-automatic firearm, the rounds are loaded into the magazine. As you press them down, they're loaded to capacity. And then once the magazine is filled to whatever ammunition is available or to capacity, it's then seated inside of the weapon. The weapon is then charged to chamber a round into the chamber. Takes the gun ready at that point.
Okay. And you specifically said this was for a Glock, correct?
Glock 43,
Okay. 9mm.
9mm.
And then People's 42 has, you want to count how many there are there?
There are 6 live rounds of ammunition for all 9mm.
Are they all the same make and model? Did you observe any guns in the defendant's home which would accept or utilize the magazine that the mark as People's 41?
No. None that I found, none that were pointed out to me or identified by anybody else on the search team.
The allegation that the gun used at the scene was a prop gun, a fake gun, or a starter pistol.
I believe it was last Monday, which was the 20... I'd have to look at my calendar. But it was Monday when you called to let me know, and I was made aware that that was what was
And the latent print lab, the LAPD latent print lab unit, completed its fingerprint analysis of those two shell casings on November 23rd, 2020.
That sounds correct.
And after examining the casings provided by Mr. Efron, law enforcement lifted exactly 0 fingerprints off them, correct?
That's correct. 0 prints for the.
So there were no fingerprints of anyone on those shell casings.
That's correct.
On April 20th of 2022, so we're fast forwarding a little bit, you secured a search warrant to obtain DNA swabs from Mr. Mayers.
Correct. That was included in the search warrant for that date that it was executed.
Right. And in order to obtain that search warrant, you swore to a judge that DNA from Mr. Mayers was clearly necessary for analysis for probable cause purposes as well as evidential purposes.
Yes, to include potential evidence that could be in custody or that could be collected at some point during the investigation.
Mr. Efron told you 52 minutes more later, he came back to the scene, correct?
I don't recall him saying the exact time, but I do recall him saying roughly within an hour after the initial incident.
And you got that from watching the videos, correct?
On first review, yes, that's what I believed was consistent.
And I understand your testimony is now changed. You say you don't think it's him, but initially, you certainly thought that person we saw was him
Yes.
at 11:09, right?
Yes, that was my belief.
Okay. And to you, at least, that was Mr. Efron in the videos,
That was my belief because it was consistent with the time frame that he provided.
right? It was consistent with what Mr. Efron told law enforcement.
Correct. Within the hour estimate.
Okay. And that person, whoever that person was, Mr. Efron initially said it was him, you believe it was him initially, leaves the scene at 11:11 p.m., 2 minutes later.
Roughly.
Object, the first part of this question seems to back on evidence.
No, it's not good evidence. Hold on a second, I can do this easy. Did Mr. Efron initially say that was him?
I don't recall if he used those words exactly. I believe he made a comment that may have indicated that, but
Well, for instance, you were here when he testified at this trial.
correct.
Do you remember when he said at this trial from the jury that he was sure that was him?
Yes.
Okay. So, just a week ago, or a few days ago, Mr. Efron said that was him, correct?
Correct.
So whoever that person was, that person that Mr. Efron swore it was him to this jury initially, left 2 minutes later.
Roughly within 2 minutes, that person left.
Based on your testimony today, you have absolutely no video showing Mr. Efron ever returning to the scene, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And certainly before, if Mr. Efron returned to the scene, certainly before Mr. Efron returned to the scene, law enforcement had arrived.
Correct.
All right. And the police arrived at the scene about 18 minutes after the incident.
Yes, roughly.
Okay. And there were at least 7 officers there.
Yes.
And while they were at the scene of the incident, 18 minutes after it ended, these 7 officers were canvassing the area.
Yes. They were walking in and about the area of Selma and Vista One.
And you saw them on the video searching the area of the old
Yes.
location.
Adjacent parking lot. Yes.
Yeah. Using the flashlights,
Correct.
looking on the ground. You saw them.
Yes.
I know you know this answer, I've been asking that way. You know law enforcement did not cover any casings in this case, correct?
Correct. The officer that responded did not find or recover any cases.
No officers ever covered any shell casings.
No.
Right?
No. You're asking from the radio call, the officer that responded initially? No.
Yes. Or any other police officer recover any cases from the scene?
Only the officer at the front desk that who took the casings.
Yeah, my question was from the scene.
Okay. No, not from the scene.
In fact, they didn't locate any sign of shooting, correct?
Correct. Other than the radio call.
Right. But that's a call. And you heard Officer Zizzo testify, I think it's Sergeant Zizzo now. You heard him testify. A lot of people make calls or they can be misinterpreting things, correct? You heard that.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of reasons. Sometimes people are just don't stick around after.
But in any event, you do agree that the officers who arrived 18 minutes later didn't locate any sign of shooting.
That's correct.
And despite that, as shown on the video, after the police left and Mr. Efron returned to the scene, he supposedly located the shell casings by himself without a flashlight within minutes.
I would object. That's used a fact, not an evidence. I believe he said he used the light on his phone and he located it.
Within minutes.
Yes.
You were in this courtroom when Mr. Efron testified that this individual named twelvy had a knife during this incident, right?
Yes.
And you're familiar with a summary investigative report related to this case dated August 5th, 2022, sir, yes?
Yes, I am.
And that's a collective sort of prior statements and a summary of the investigation overall.
That was a filing summary.
And that's what you used to file the case with the district attorney's office.
Correct.
All right. So obviously, in that report, you certainly wouldn't want there to be any accuracies, right?
Correct.
All right.
It relates to the crime, yes. Correct.
That's what relates to the crime.
Yes, sir.
Your name is on that report, right, sir?
My name is on the report.
And what you wrote in the last line of the first page of this report, the collective statements, is that the victim observed Ulunga, meaning ASAP Hills, was armed with a knife. Did you write that?
I didn't author this report.
Okay. Is it in that report?
It is in that report.
Oh, right. So some police officer wrote that.
Yes.
Who? Do you know?
I believe that was my partner, Detective Flores.
Where'd he go? He used to be there, right?
He was in the back of the money property.
He's gone. But he was there. The guy was
Yeah,
there.
yeah, he's been here.
You're right. And it was brought to your attention during the preliminary hearing on November 20th, 2023, that this report said Mr. Efron identified ASAP Hills as the one armed with a knife. We discussed that in the preliminary hearing, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if you thought that that report was inaccurate, you certainly could have asked for that to be changed at any point, correct?
Yes, sir. I mean, but honestly, yes, that was a mistake. But the prior interviews that were recorded of Mr. Efron from the telephonic interview on the 9th and the in-person interview on December 17th, 2021, he was consistent on both interviews that the person with the knife was, in fact, twelvy. The report prepared for that August filing, there was an error, and it did indicate the wrong person. That is correct.
Well, as I just asked you, if you thought that report was inaccurate, you could have asked that to change, correct?
Yes.
And you never did?
No, I mean, I answered your question. I mean, the record, I think, captured through the interviews is clear what Mr. Efron said versus what our mistake was.
No, it's not my question. Did you change your report?
No, we did not generate another report to correct it. Correct.
So, you were here obviously last Tuesday, January 28th, when Mr. Efron.
See, this is just why I just can't trust the dealerships anymore. Look at this. This my car, right? A 2016 BMW.
And with regard to the knife, Mr. Efron told police in November of 2021 that he saw the knife being held while Rocky was pointing the alleged gun at him, and he was yelling at Rocky, right?
Correct. I believe that's the way it was described in that crime report.
So while Rocky's holding the alleged gun at him and pointing it at him, he's seeing a knife simultaneously.
You've seen it during that event, correct?
Not during that event. While the gun is being pointed at him, is that correct?
That's the way it's described in the report, yes, sir.
You also heard Mr. Efron's testimony last Tuesday, January 28th, that he saw the knife being put away, and he then said, "What the F you got a knife for?" Remember that testimony last week?
Yes, sir.
And in November of 2021, Mr. Efron told the police that only after he said, "Why you got a knife," did that knife get put away. Recall that?
I don't recall that specifically, sir.
I'll show you a report.
Okay.
In the month of November 2021, you, the collective police officers and law enforcement,
Correct.
had Mr. Efron's statement. Yes.
Yes, sir.
You had cell phone records in this case.
Yes.
You had video of the incident,
Correct.
and you had 2 shell casings provided by Mr. Efron.
Correct.
But you still waited another 5 months until April of 2022 to arrest Mr. Mayers.
Yes, I mean, there were other factors involved.
Yes or no? Yes.
Yes.
And during those 5 months, from November 2021 until Mr. Mayor's arrest in April of 2022, law enforcement recovered nothing else, no additional evidence to use against Mr. Mayor, correct?
Correct.
In fact, during those 5 months, law enforcement never contacted twelvy, never tried to find twelvy or contacted him, correct?
No, we never were able to contact him.
Able? Did you try?
No, I'm sorry. At that point, no.
Okay. And you understood that twelvy was present during the incident, obviously?
Correct. We understood. They were present. They were all acquainted.
And obviously, he would be an important potential witness in this case.
Could be.
Things packed in cardboard boxes there.
Correct.
Did you learn whether or not Mr. Mayor's was in the process of a move at this point?
I was not aware that he was in the process.
How about the next one is? That would be defense.
X, as an X-ray.
You see those boxes there?
Yes, I do.
By the way, can I go back to the last photo, the W, I think? Those cardboard boxes that you see in this photo, did you search those?
The closed boxes, no.
I'm gonna just
So using zebra.
use the zebra. Those suitcases, were they opened and searched, do you know?
I don't recall specifically from my memory.
A, Adam.
AA. Same question.
Correct.
Sealed boxes were not opened and searched, correct?
Correct.
There, but any of these sealed boxes that you see in the photo there,
No, sir.
they were not searched. And during the search, law enforcement did not recover a 9mm firearm, correct?
That's correct. In the magazine?
Yeah,
Yes.
in the magazine, right? The 9mm cartridges were not loose or anything. They're
No.
inside that magazine. One's on the left, right there. So yes, those are the Sig Luger 9mm cartridges.
Yes, these are the live rounds that were recovered from the magazine and contained within the magazine.
Okay. And those are different cartridges, obviously. The brand of the one on the right is what's called FC or Federal.
Yeah, FC Luger
Right.
on the right are the spent casings,
Right. And Sig is the other one.
and the live rounds are SIG. I'm sorry, SIG.
6 hour.
6 hour Luger.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Okay. You also recovered was it 2 rifle magazines as well.
Correct.
As part of your investigation, you learned that Mr. Mayers was licensed to possess firearms. As part of your investigation, did you learn whether or not Mr. Mayers was licensed to carry firearms?
Objection.
Calls for yes or no.
Nothing I can confirm, but I heard he did.
You did, okay. And those 2,
Anything after nothing I could confirm as being non-responsive.
Sustain, the answer's true.
and
Calls for yes.
the 2, the one gun, what was it called? You know the name of that 44 Magnum? Desert Eagle. Desert Eagle. That was Mr. Mayers. That was registered to Mr. Mayers.
Correct.
Right, registered to Mr. Mayers.
Yes.
Object is again false or hearsay.
Overruled.
And the rifle was also registered to Mr. Mayers.
Second objection.
Overruled. That's correct.
Okay. Meaning legally registered to him, correct?
Yes, both those weapons are registered.
And the other weapon, gun, whatever you call it, that was recovered was the shotgun.
It was a shotgun.
And that was registered to an individual named Lou Levin.
I don't remember who specifically was registered to, but it was a legal.
It was a legal weapon.
Correct.
Also, all 3 were legal weapons.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, that shotgun was given back to its rightful owner before he left the scene, correct?
I don't recall that it was returned, that Mr. Levin took it. That's just my recollection.
Okay, it's okay. Well, what would refresh your recollection?
I don't know if there's anything. Obviously, Mr. Levin took possession of the house when we left. He took charge of the house, so what he removed after that, I'm not aware of.
Okay? I'm talking about what he removed, I'm talking about what you removed. You removed the 2 guns registered to Mr. Matus, correct?
No.
You're saying you left them in the house?
Yes.
You sure about that?
Yes.
So you left those 2, the Magnum and the rifle in the house?
Yes.
And obviously the shotgun you left there as well?
Yes, those are all legal weapons. And
All legal
not part of what our search warrant encompasses.
Okay. Okay. So on November 9th, 2021, did Mr. Efron tell you that he believed he was grazed on his left knuckle area?
Yes.
And despite supposedly being grazed by a bullet on November 6, 2021, Mr. Efron did not seek medical attention until returning to New York.
That's my understanding, yes.
Hey, did you hear it? Did you hear it?
I remember the comment, I can remember that line of questioning, and I think I made a comment prior to that as well.
Okay.
And I think in the context that he was making a comment about his injury, and I think I also suggested he should get it looked at, and I think that's when Detective Menifee also made her statement.
Her statement was that he needs to go get medically treated because of the type of case that this is, correct?
I believe that's the context.
Having read that, does it refresh your recollection that Mr. Efron mentioned that he was told by his attorney to return to the scene of the altercation and retrieve the gun case?
Yes.
That's not what that even says, Your Honor, and you're right.
You want me to read verbatim? You just said yes, first of all. That's exactly.
The answer yes?
The answer is yes.
Go on to subject. The objection's overruled.
And you'd agree, by the way, that Mr. Efron's phone records do not show a single call between him and Brian Hurwitz between 10:17 and 11:09.
Not that I recall, no, sir.
Do you remember, in search of Mr. Efron's phone records, there not being a call to Mr. Hurwitz until a few days later?
I recall at some point after.
After.
Correct.
All right, that's, you know what, that's fine. You interviewed Mr. Efron's girlfriend, correct?
Correct.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
You never took Ms. Parker's phone?
No.
Okay. So therefore, obviously, you never examined it to see what texts or calls have been made from it?
Not from her phone, physically, no.
You said you saw the videos in this case,
Yes.
all of them?
Yes.
You never saw a video with Ms. Parker returning to the scene?
None that were collected, no.
With Mr. Efron on December 2021, you asked him why he continued to follow Mr. Mayor's if he knew he had a gun, right?
Yes.
Because according to you, you told him that would seem to be an odd thing to do.
Yes.
Okay. When you asked Mr. Efron why did he continue to follow Mr. Mayor's after seeing a gun, what he said was he didn't know why.
Correct.
17.
Correct.
Specifically, what that video shows is Mr. Efron apparently struggling with bills, ASAP bills.
Yes.
And you also detailed approximate distances observed within the video, right?
Roughly.
And you listed various times of various events seen on the video.
Correct.
You described that as a subject, you described that a subject was in a dark colored jacket or sweater.
Correct.
In preparing the report, obviously you wanted to document anything that you observed on the video which was considered important with respect to the case.
Yeah, just to give it a rough timestamp of what the events took place, and to give it a holistic view at the end of which we can look at all the pieces together and tell the story.
But in the report, you didn't want to leave anything important out.
Well, again, these are just notes to mark timestamps. So, yes, what I thought was important relative to that frame.
And clearly, as part of the investigation, Detective Flores, if a gun or a shooting were observed on the video from 1616 Vista Del Mar, that's something you would have documented in your summary, correct?
Again, sir, it's collectively. I mean, that's part of A, where the incident began, where we observed a gun. B, where the struggle took place, and you can see various individuals running in different directions. And then as we move up, collectively, we see the next video with sound, where we can hear the gunshots,
I mean, it's collectively not just one piece.
Okay, so let me just make sure you understood my question. I'll ask it again.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. We don't restart right. Clearly, as part of the investigation, if a gun or a shooting were observed on the video from 1616 BC Del Mar, that's something you would have documented in a summary. Yes?
Yes,
But that document, that summary, does not document that a shooting was observed, right?
correct. It does not.
You agree from the 1616 BC Del Mar video, that's that video, the one that shows the whole struggle and all the stuff, right? You agree that there is no evidence from that video of an actual gun being discharged, correct?
Correct. From that view by itself, no.
The sequence surveillance video that you put together overlaps video from the 1616 BC Del Mar video with the audio from the 6200 Hollywood Boulevard video.
Correct.
All right. And that's the People's Exhibit 15, is that right?
It is.
15? Okay. And you did that, right? You basically overlapped the video from 1616 BC Del Mar that had no audio, right?
Correct.
Okay. And the audio from 6200 Hollywood.
Correct.
And you put them together. And you agree that the 1616 BC Del Mar video, you just said this doesn't have any sound, but the video from 6200 Hollywood Boulevard does.
That's correct.
So you overlapped the videos from each location, trying to show when the shot would have occurred during the 1616 BC Del Mar video.
Correct.
Okay. Of course, if the overlap detected is off, even by a fraction of a second, the shot would not have occurred during the precise moment shown on the overlap 1616 BC Del Mar video, correct?
Correct.
And with regard to the 6200 Hollywood Boulevard video, you extracted 3 sets of videos from 3 different cameras maintained by the business at that location.
Correct.
And it's been stipulated, you heard of that, we agreed
Yes, sir.
on something. It's been agreed that the date and timestamp on the 3 cameras from 6200 Hollywood Boulevard are approximately 2 to 3 minutes faster than actual time.
That's correct.
And the reason the cameras are approximately 2 to 3 minutes faster than actual time instead of the exact amount is because each camera is off from an actual time by a different amount.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's not unusual when we collect video.
Yes, it's unusual.
Okay.
I'm saying the reason that you're using a range of 2 to 3 minutes as opposed to 2 minutes and 4 seconds, 10, 15, 53 seconds. And hold on before we play it. We have to mark this. This is a defense exhibit.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to see this states the stipulation.
Well, that's what? What's there?
He's saying the video from 6200 Hollywood was off by 2 to 3 minutes. He's talking about the business, the parking lot entrance, and the
All right, why
El
don't you two confer?
Okay.
If I don't need to get involved.
I'm just going to rewind for a few questions just to reset the context. We can start talking about the surveillance video, okay?
Okay.
All right. So the sequence surveillance video overlaps video from 1616 BC Del Mar with video and audio from 6200 Hollywood Boulevard, correct?
Correct.
All right. And you agree that 1616 BC Del Mar video has no sound?
Correct.
But the video from 6200 Hollywood Boulevard does.
That's correct.
So you overlap the videos from each location trying to show when the shot would have occurred during the 1616 BC Del Mar video.
Correct.
Of course, if we agree on this already, if your overlap is off even by a fraction of a second, the shot would not have occurred during the precise moment shown on the overlap 1616 BC Del Mar video.
That's correct.
And in order to determine when the overlap, in order to determine when to overlap the shot heard on the 6200 Hollywood Boulevard video with the 1616 East Del Mar video, you need to first figure out when that shot took place in relation to the 1616 East Del Mar video.
Yes.
So you use a visual benchmark for both videos, something that you could see in the surveillance videos from 1616 East Del Mar and 6200 Hollywood Boulevard.
Correct.
And that was the floodlight turning on.
Yes.
And you saw the floodlight turning on in camera 2, and just to be clear, camera 2 is file. The file number, I think based on these filings, was file 18221-716 from 6200 Hollywood Boulevard at 10:17 and 26 seconds.
I believe that's correct.
Now, but even seeing that floodlight in both videos, there would have been only two ways to use that benchmark to determine when to overlap the 1616 East Del Mar video and the 6200 Hollywood Boulevard video at the early moment when the shot would have occurred in the 1616 East Del Mar video, correct?
I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, I gotta do that one again.
I didn't understand.
A lot of words in that question, but I'm gonna try.
Yes.
Still don't know how to ask it. But even seeing that floodlight in both videos, the one we just discussed, that benchmark, that floodlight going on, right? Okay.
Is that yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
But even seeing that floodlight in both videos, there would have only been two ways to use that benchmark, the floodlight, to determine when to overlap the 1616 East Del Mar video and the 6200 Hollywood Boulevard videos at the earlier moment when the shot would have occurred on the East Del Mar video.
I'm sorry. I think you lost me, sir.
So the two videos, again, the benchmark for that was the floodlight going on.
Correct. One of them benchmarks, yes.
What did you use to determine when to overlap the 1616 East Del Mar video and the 6200 Hollywood Boulevard video?
Again, it was just the totality of the videos, looking at the sequence of the floodlight, the individuals on the video running from one point of the camera to the other, just kind of looking at it in sequence over and over. Everything seemed to coincide with the sound from the 6200 camera.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's two methods, and tell me if you use one of these two. One would have been to rewind both videos simultaneously to the exact moment, right? Or, let me rephrase that, to rewind both videos, 6200, 1616, simultaneously the exact amount, 30 seconds, for example, right? Would that be one way?
That would be one way. I mean, anticipating that each individual camera system sometimes has its own time. It doesn't mean they're all automatically set at the first exact second or coincide with each other. But again, roughly looking at the light with the individual persons on those cameras, watching them in sequence, it's the best way I can explain it to you.
Okay. And the other way would have been to determine how much actual time passed on the 6200 Hollywood Boulevard video between the floodlight and the shot heard, and then use that same actual amount of time to rewind the 1616 East Del Mar video, right?
Yes, roughly.
Which of those two methodologies did you use?
I think we explored every option, just to try to gauge the best possible, but I can't tell you which one I believe was more accurate than the other. Again, I just looked at the totality of all these things to see that they coincided.
Well, my question really more is, which one did you use? How did you do it?
I mean, I looked at both, but I think the one that stood out more to me was the light, the floodlight.
I understand that, but I'm saying, did you rewind both videos, the 6200 and the 1616, to the exact same amount?
I don't recall whether they were running to the exact second, but to the point where it coincided with the sound. And so, yes, I mean, to answer your question directly, roughly, yes, about the same time.
Oh, bear with me once.
Carrying around extra fat is dangerous. This is how you get rid of it.
If you want to drop this,
start eating more of these.
You might think this would take years to learn, but I'm going to teach it to you in 60 seconds. Watch this.
Okay. I'm going to play you a couple of clips. I'm not sure that we're ready, but when creating the sequenced surveillance video, it wasn't an exact science, right?
No.
Okay. Meaning the overlapping was done by hand, right?
Correct.
In fact, I think that 55 seconds into the sequence surveillance video, you could see that little cursor being moved by hand in the upper right corner. Did you see that?
I don't recall that.
All right, we'll show you that.
Sure.
Right hand. At 55 seconds.
Okay.
See that? See the cursor?
I do.
Okay. See those balls over there, those little round things? Did you see it moving around?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that means obviously it's being moved by hand, by someone.
That would give me an indication that it is.
And as you said, you saw the floodlight turn on in camera 2, which again we identified as file 18221-716 from 6200 Hollywood Boulevard at 10/17/26.
Okay.
And you heard the first shot on camera 2, different file number, which is 182220214, at an earlier moment, which you believe to be 30 seconds earlier based on the timestamps. Correct?
Sir, I'm not sure I understand your question. The two shots are different.
No. The first shot on camera 2, which was filed, well, 182220214. That's the name of the file number that I have to identify.
Okay.
You heard the first shot on camera 2 at an earlier moment, which you believe to be 30 seconds earlier based on the timestamps, right?
Correct.
So you figured the first shot would have occurred 30 seconds earlier in that same surveillance video in actual time.
Sir, I'm not
Okay.
understanding your question.
Did you, well, you agree that you said you went back 30 seconds, or 30 seconds earlier is when you heard that first shot, right?
Again, in comparison to the videos, as far as what the times they reflect.
Oh.
Yes.
And that's 30 seconds earlier than what the first video, what camera 2 showed.
Correct.
All right. And you use that same exact amount of time, 30 seconds, to go back on the 1616 Beast Del Mar video.
I believe so.
You'd agree if the floodlight turned on less than 30 seconds in actual time, after the shot was heard on the 6200 Hollywood Boulevard video, that means you went back too far on the Beast Del Mar video, right? If the floodlight turned on less than 30 seconds.
Again, sir, this is, I mean, it wasn't an exact science.
I'm not criticizing.
So I'm not sure about the exact seconds that you're pointing out.
Well, again, you just
Probably, yes.
right, what I'm saying is you just said you went back 30 seconds early based on the timestamps and what you observed.
Correct, just roughly within that
And
period.
again, right. So my question was, and again, I'm not criticizing your methodology, I'm just asking. If the floodlight turned on less than 30 seconds in actual time after the shot was heard on the 6200 Hollywood Boulevard video, that means that if you went back 30 seconds, that would be a little too far, right?
Could be, yes.
Okay. With regard to the 6200 Hollywood Boulevard video, you extracted 3 sets of videos from 3 different cameras maintained by the residents at that location.
Correct, that was what was provided.
And your understanding, those cameras run in actual time.
Yes, live.
But each camera, I think we've already discussed this last time we were here the other day. In fact, each camera is off from actual time by a different amount, between 2 to 3 minutes.
I'm not sure if it's that camera that was off.
Jeff, as it misstates the stipulation.
The first video, and this is again, I want to show you about the timing. Is camera 1, which is file 18220-237. You hear the first shot at 10:15:53. Tell me if you agree with that. Go ahead. Okay.
That's correct.
All right, okay. That's it. So you heard the first shot on that camera at 10:15:53 seconds.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I'm going to play camera 2, which I'm going to identify again by file number, which is 18220214. And you hear the same first shot just over a minute later on this camera at 10:16:56 seconds. Tell me if you agree with that after listening. There.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that was 10:16:56 seconds on that camera, which is over a minute later from the first camera.
Correct.
All right. And on the third camera, which is file 1A221240, you hear, hold on a second, right? You hear that same first shot 4 seconds after that last video at 10:17 on the dot. Tell me if you agree.
Yes, I do.
Okay. So a reason that the times would be off from each other is because at least 2 of the clocks are running faster than the other.
That could be a reason. Yes, independent systems.
And a reason that a timestamp on a camera would be faster than actual time is because the clock for that camera would be running faster than actual time.
Yes, sir. Just like here in the courtroom.
Good example. Just like here in the court. With that in mind, let's look at one more. Let's look at video from camera 2 just before the flow light goes off. And now I think it's the defense exhibit we're going to show, right?
DD.
DD, Your Honor. This is from 6200 Hollywood Boulevard. Again, I read the file number. I'll read it again. It's 18221716. The first, before you play, hold on a second. The first timestamp shown on this camera is 10:17:17.
That's correct.
Okay. And the video itself is at 0 seconds because, hold on a second. I just want to make sure we're in the same video here. We do have, in fact, the same video. Okay. So I think you just agreed the video itself is at 0 seconds because it has not started yet, correct, sir?
That's correct.
10:17:17 seconds.
Yes, sir. On the clock, lower clock.
All right, let's play the video until the floodlight is on. 9 seconds later at 10:17:26. Go ahead, please. Okay, you see that?
Yes.
Floodlight on?
Correct.
I'm sorry?
Yes,
Okay. And it says 10:17:26.
it does.
And how many seconds faster than, how many seconds later from 10:17:17 is that?
9 seconds.
9 seconds. Yeah, how many seconds ran off the clock?
8.
So that's something's wrong there, right?
Yes, I mean,
Okay.
whether or not it was stopped right at 8, 8 between 9, I don't know how to explain it.
Well, okay. The clock says, Chad. So it's 10:17:26 seconds, which is 9 seconds after 10:17:17 seconds. But the video only ran 8 seconds. You can see that, correct? And the floodlight isn't back on, right?
That's correct.
So this would indicate, at least here, that the video is about 1 second past here.
Could be within 1 second, correct.
Yeah. And given that, it's fair to say that the shot heard on 1616 East Del Mar should have been about a second later than shown in the sequence surveillance video, right?
It's certainly not my area of expertise as far as the way sound travels and light travels. I know they travel at different speeds, but that would be within my expertise. But that's correct.
Okay, that's correct. Okay.
Whether or not you would find a fingerprint on any kind of object.
Yes.
What are some of the factors that you're aware of?
Time in which it was processed, the exposure to the elements, rain, water, foot traffic, cars, depending on where it's at, wind, other weather events, I mean, anything, other people going through the area or touching vehicles. I mean, it just depends on where the item is going to be processed, with conditions it's found in, and how long it's exposed to those conditions.
What about temperature? Is that one of the things that would be potentially affected?
Yes.
Objection to leading.
Would exposure of a fingerprint to something of high temperature potentially impact whether or not it's able to be located later?
I think so. Right.
In your nearly 30 years of experience, so 29 years of experience as a police officer, can you personally recall any cases of yours where fingerprints were developed from a fired cartridge case?
None that I can think of.
Based on your background and experience, do you have any idea of things that could impact whether or not DNA is present on an item?
I mean, along the same lines as fingerprints, exposure to the elements, contamination, anything from human contamination, vehicle, wherever it's exposed to, weather.
Did you ever look to see what firearms were registered to Mr. Efron
Yes.
at the time of the incident in November of 2021?
Yes.
And what did you discover when you searched for any guns that would be registered to him at that time?
We didn't find any firearms registered to Mr. Efron.
Okay. Yeah. If Mr. Efron testified that he first went to the scene and collected the cartridge cases and he contacted an attorney at some point after that, did he ever say anything to you that was different from that order?
No.
Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
Did Mr. Efron ever make that statement to you?
No.
Was that just an inaccuracy in the summary of the report?
That's correct. It was an inaccuracy.
November 2023 at the preliminary hearing to that inaccuracy.
Yes, I do.
So did you tell the court, the DA, and the defense that that line in your report that Hills had a knife was not correct?
That's correct. View of the weapon, followed by the second view of the reaction to the incident as the 4 individuals in the distance in the camera were scrambling. As you can see that something was going on in conjunction with the sounds of the shots heard from the other camera, and then the fluidity of everybody running through the cameras over to El Centro. That along the lines with the information provided by Mr. Efron, that was my opinion that it was an operable firearm and that shots had been fired.
For accuracy. Are you checking it down to the fraction of a second?
I mean, it's captured, and we take that into account and try to determine how far off it may have been. Again, the other factors include that we can't control the maintenance of it, how it's been updated, when it's been serviced.
But to the fraction of a second, that's what you're checking, or are you checking minutes, hours, things like that?
Generally checking minutes, hours, and events captured that coincide with other markers that we do have, whether it's from another camera or a witness or something else that kind of puts us in that right time frame that we're looking for.
To this day, have you been able to interview 12?
No.
Have you ever been present when 12 was asked if he would agree to an interview?
Yes.
And what was his answer when asked if he would agree to an interview by law enforcement?
No.
We asked questions about, let's generalize it first, inaccuracies in police reports, correct?
Correct.
Okay. One of those, for example, were who had the knife, right?
Yes.
That's a significant issue, isn't it?
Yes, in the report, yes.
One was whether Mr. Efron was instructed by his attorney to go back to the scene and pick up the shell casings or not. That's a significant issue, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay. And those two issues in the reports were inaccurate, correct, according to you?
Yes.
And those could have been corrected at some point, right?
Yes, they could.
They never were they?
I mean, as far as generating a new report, other than what's been explained in court, no.
Right. So the reports today are still inaccurate on those issues.
Correct.
You were asked if you would agree to interview, if 12 would agree to be interviewed by you, and you said, he said, no, he wouldn't. Are you referring to, correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Are you referring to 2 weeks ago in court here?
Yes.
Is that the first time you tried to interview him?
Yes.
So, in January of 2025 is the first time you tried to interview 12V about an incident that occurred in November 6th of 2021, correct?
Correct. Me personally, yes.
How about anyone else from the police department?
Yes. No, that would
No.
be the first one. Correct.
Shows you the firearm was operational. Which
Sir, as you put them together with the sound, with the sequence of events, along with the physical evidence and the statement from Mr. Efron, that is just my opinion that it is operational, and that's why I believe it.
Well, take out Mr. Efron for 1 second, because he's the one who recovered the shell casings, right?
Yes.
And he's the one who gives you the narrative on that video that you can't tell what happened, the 1616.
Correct. I mean, as he provides narrative of the sequence of events, the initial encounter of the gun that was displayed to him, what he believed to be a gun.
All right.
Whether it's operational or not at that point, I can't tell you. But the sequence of event as they evolved to Selma and Vista Del Mar, the cameras there, the incident that took place as far as what I can describe as a scramble during some, obviously, the events that occurred there that Mr. Efron described as being shot at was consistent in conjunction with the audio from the cameras. Again, this is just what I'm looking at when I'm trying to rationalize and give my opinion as to why I believe it is the gun that was fired.
I'm sorry, you're done?
Yes, sir.
Take Mr. Relli and Mr. Efron out of the equation for a second.
Okay.
Take him out of the equation. You don't have Mr. Efron. And therefore, the shell cases that he remembered, which we talked about the issues with that on Tuesday. Without Mr. Efron and his narrative or version of events, with those two videos that you said independently, you cannot tell if it's an operable firearm. In the second video, you said you can't see if there is a firearm.
It's an improper hypothetical which relies on evidence.
The answer would be ignores evidence. Objection sustained.
You want to use asked his opinion to respond?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Taking something out of the equation then makes the hypothetical irrelevant. So ask another question.
Is your conclusion based on the fact that Relli's narrative is truthful?
It is consistent up to the point of what he describes occurred, based on what I've been able to see in connection with the physical evidence that has been provided.
So let me break it down this way. Video 1 alone, you don't know if the gun is operable.
Correct.
Video 2, that's 16 pieces of more, all the skull, but you don't even know if there's a gun based on the video.
Specifically, just looking at that and not looking at anything else, no.
Right. You then hear sounds that appear to be a gunshot, right?
Correct.
Aside from the gun, what else could make those sounds? An operable gun, I should say.
The sound that I heard off that camera, I mean, a firearm, some kind of replica firearm potentially, but distinct sound of the firearm. Then again, my belief it was a firearm.
Right.
Would you agree you don't need Mr. Efron's truthful testimony to establish a shooting occurred?
Yes.
I don't have any answer.
I do now. So, without Mr. Efron's truthful testimony, what leads you to believe a shooting without Mr. Efron's truthful testimony? So I guess he's now out of the equation. What would lead you to believe a shooting occurred?
Again, just looking at the video, the first incident where guns displayed, he obviously follows through with a scramble, as you can best describe.
That's not.
Yes, sir.
He needs to answer the questions. To ask the question. You ask the question. Let's finish.
Okay, so.
So again, it just comes down to, sir, is looking at everything in combination, even without Mr. Efron's statement. If I were an investigating officer just responding to investigate a shooting scene where maybe there was some evidence found and establishing what had occurred without a potential witness, would be to obviously look at the same video, listen to the same sound of gunfire. Again, it's just factors that would be known at the time. But it would still lead me to believe that there had been some actual shooting short of a recording witness being present. I would still believe that.
Okay. So you first cited the fact that the gun was displayed. That was the first thing you just cited, right?
Correct.
Which you already told the jury. The gun that was displayed, the only time you could see a gun in any video was the parking garage video.
Correct.
You already told the jury, by that video, you can't tell if it's operable, right?
Correct, because it was not fired at that point.
Well, you also said the sound could also have been made by a non-operable firearm. You just said that before.
Again, it's in the realm of possibilities.
Okay.
From what I've heard, again, based on the sound, again, this is just my opinion, on my expertise and my experience, I believe it to be a firearm.
You also heard, you were here when the police officer's body cam from the scene was played, right?
Yes, sir.
And you heard the police officer say there's no evidence of a shooting here. You heard that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No, you're right.
All right. Thank you, Detective Flores. You can-